Hello and welcome to the Battle Bro. This is going to be a bit of an unconventional video for a couple of reasons. The first and primary reason will be to discuss my analysis of the Rouge the Bat vs. Batman fight. Spoilers will be in, and to sort of defend my position on it. Not like it's a necessary thing, but some people have gotten riled up over it, and I'd like to show them where I'm coming from, and maybe alleviate some of what is apparently stressing them to no end. And secondly, towards the end of the video, I will be discussing a new possibility for some extra content on the channel, see what you guys think about it. So, first off, to the Batman Rouge the Bat debate, if there even is one. First off, the parameters, if anyone watched the breakdown video, which rarely they do, they would know that Batman is equipped for the fight with his standard crime-fighting outfit. That means the titanium Kevlar mesh, adapted internal visor, reinforced gloves and boots, etc., etc. Next, for Rouge, they would know that she comes equipped with a pick nail, iron boots, and dummy rings were an option that I decided not to count in because of the sole use in the Sonic Heroes game. So, next I'd like to discuss the parameters by which I evaluated how a victor would be chosen. There are a couple of major stats: damage output, durability, speed, and intelligence. Let's break down these one at a time. Intelligence, there's no question here. Batman definitely takes this one in every conceivable way. His knowledge of fighting tactics, his tactical knowledge of all things, biological and physical, and his incredibly fast wit gives him a major edge in all of those categories. However, the advantage that he has in actual combat skill is a lot lower than some might expect. Yes, Batman has mastery over just about every fighting style there is out there, but ultimately, Batman has human physiology on a fundamental level. Even though his calcium-based bones and carbon-based tissues clearly don't operate under the same physical limitations as classic compounds would, he still has the same range of motion as a normal human. Unless he can break and reset his joints in a fraction of a second, he has the same general limitations on movement as a normal human being, albeit he can do it at a much faster rate. This means that no matter how many fighting styles Batman learns, the same range of motion is applicable for all of them, meaning there's only so many ways that you can throw a punch and so many directions that you can block at once, no matter how many fighting styles that you know. This means effectively, when fighting an opponent as fast as Rouge, his fighting style knowledge will be less valuable to him than, say, against another opponent that would be more easily thrown. On next, the topic of speed, which actually applies into the topic of power quite effectively. So, for speed, Batman is looking at some incredible speed feats, putting him easily at Mach 2, possibly at Mach 3. This is very, very high, especially for a human. Whereas Rouge, with foot speed considerably higher than Batman's, her combat speed is somewhat of a debate. As far as her striking speed goes, though, we can roughly estimate that her striking speed is somewhere around 1,500 meters per second minimum. This is calculated based on her drill dive and ability to cut through soft rock at a rapid pace when compared to modern industrial equivalents. Looking at Batman's abilities versus this speed ability by Rouge, you're looking at a difference between his reaction time, effectively on average, and her strike time, with her being about 1.5 times faster at about a minimum. Of course, there is some play in either direction, and you could argue with a Batman reaction speed that could be higher, as much as double. But doubling Mach 2, getting to 2,000 meters per second in reaction time, really doesn't hold as high as Rouge's high estimate. a high estimate on Rouge's kick speed based on the drill dive maneuver, and again, modern industrial equivalent, could put her highball as much as 10 times higher than that initial stated velocity of 1,500 meters per second. Now, this would put her at 10 times the speed of a rifle bullet on an attack, which, while not like Knuckles' the Echidna power, is still considerably powerful. Now, as far as raw strength goes, this is a bit of an interesting dilemma, as Batman has fought both opponents that are conceivably multiple hundreds of times stronger than the average human, and yet sometimes fought opponents that were just human and had issues. So, where does Batman's power fall? On average, an estimate could put him anywhere between 2 tons of lifting force at the base minimum to about 8 tons. That's impressive, but lifting force is a full body affair, meaning Batman's full body power, including all 4 limbs and core muscles, would give him approximately 8 tons of lifting force if we are going to go near the higher end. On the opposite end, Rouge, we could estimate somewhere in that same range, between the 2-ton lifting / striking capability to something higher, given that Rouge has been consistently viewed as a rival of Tails, and considering that she doesn't have quite the same strength as Knuckles, that's clear. She could be anywhere between 2 tons and Tails' 10 tons, with more likely ranging along the 10-ton line. So, if you take those into account, then the strength should be about equal between the two of them if you're going to estimate low on Rouge and high on Batman. However, we still have the striking force and speed debate to go on, which gives us this scenario. Batman's best durability feats include getting hit by a mind-controlled Superman. This resulted in small amounts of what appears to be internal bleeding and a hit that launched Batman about the length of an apartment building. Let's say that is approximately 100 feet, given by the way the panel shows that he landed without damaging any of the structures behind him. Batman seems like he probably has been hit harder, but given that this one shows some possible internal damage, we'll use this one as a baseline durability. So, assuming that he got flung from about 5 feet in height, so just about parallel to the ground, and launched approximately our adjustment of 100 feet, we can say that he likely was hit with at least a force of 2,000 pounds per square inch, enough to typically shatter a human bone with ease. The difference here is that this launching speed is difficult to calculate, and based on the amount of area of Superman's fist, which could be anywhere between 7 inches and 3 inches if just caught a little bit of it, the 2,000 psi is most likely a generous estimate here. But for argument's sake, let's give him 2,000 psi of resistance through a weak spot in the titanium armor, which would be any point in the armor which has an adjustable joint, such as the abdomen and back. By contrast, let's look at Rouge's ability with the 1,500 meters per second kick as the base. So, if you calculate out forces, I'm not going to go into them as deeply as I could because this would be an hour-long video, but we can estimate roughly a force of 4,500 newtons or 1,012 pounds of force. Not a lot compared to Batman's 2,000 psi takedown. However, this is 1,012 pounds of raw force. It is nothing to say of the edge with which she actually hits. So, assuming that the pick nail is like its namesake, the pickaxe, the shoe tip of Rouge should be about half an inch wide. If you're going to take a look at the difference in the impact areas, the Superman punch at 3 inches is a lot wider than the shoe tip impact at half an inch. Rough estimates will put Rouge at approximately 2024 psi with the pick nail. This, of course, is not estimating additional damage possible by the iron boots, which, as I have addressed in other media, gave her the ability to take down crates, which Shadow and Sonic both needed the flame ring to help deteriorate the metal's integrity, and before they could be able to destroy it. But all of that aside, even if we take all of those into account, there's still the element of surprise, the element of stealth. The ability of Batman to turn Rouge's abilities against her. Given his incredible intellect and dealing with other foes such as Man-Bat, you would be tempted to use sonic grenades and other tactics effective against Rouge in order to keep her down and limit her senses. While flash grenades should work as well on her as anyone else, sonic grenades would be relatively ineffective, and if we're playing the sound game, Batman loses this one quite handily in a way that I hadn't even predicted. So, Rouge has an ability called the Beauty Shock, an unassuming sound wave that distorts light and hits the opponent with enough force to launch them. But let's take a look at this move in higher depth. The Beauty Shock, as far as I can estimate, is roughly equivalent to Sindel's ability to create sound waves that are powerful enough to refract light. These waves should be strong enough to explode human tissues, and these are metahumans, by the way, people that can get launched up to 20 feet in the air and get back up, or have their bones broken, lift concrete pillars, etc., etc. Sindel's abilities are roughly equivalent here to what Rouge's are based on raw appearance. This would mean any sonic grenade would pale in comparison to forces that she exerts already. But what would this Air Beauty Shock do to a human on impact? Well, given Batman's suit design, much of the force would be lost. In other words, his eardrums and other sensitive audio organs might be well protected. However, if any of the sound waves manage to reach his exposed chin, there is going to be hell to pay. The first thing that would happen is small vessels, such as the ones like the capillaries in the eyes, would burst instantaneously. Not only would this be painful, but it's possible that this could limit Batman's visual capabilities. Otherwise, the vibrations would cause body-wide muscle spasms, a number of tissue damage possibilities to the brain, etc., etc. Even through Batman's incredible defenses, this attack would do huge damage, and it's not an attack that can only be used once. This, in itself, is probably Rouge's trump card. It's an attack that Batman would have no way of knowing, considering it's so much more powerful than any of the other moves. That, compared with her ability to put out forces that should be able to at least do damage to armored places on Batman, and, at worst, could absolutely remove his jaw if she attacked the exposed area. The question is, would Rouge be able to attack Batman effectively? Batman's predictive skill has allowed him to dodge what should be undodgeable techniques. So, could he manage to hold her off long enough to score a win here? The answer is unlikely. As stated before, Batman has a human range of motion. This gives him somewhat of a limited ability to block from every angle, and as established, Rouge has a higher foot speed than Batman, allowing her to control the position of battle. This means Rouge has a better ability to pick angles of attack, to experiment with how to hit her foe, and find a weak point at a much higher rate than Batman is able to. This also means that points to non-critical areas, such as lower back areas, etc., that are harder to defend, would likely stack up as this pinpoint pressure damage continues to rack up, causing internal bleeding, causing the armor to wear away, etc., etc. This fight is no stomp in either direction. However, if this is a test of which character can wear the other one down enough and faster, the edge definitely goes to Rouge. So, given those reasons, I'd say that Rouge has to win this fight. Of course, I could be wrong, and I'm happy to admit that. It could be that I am way off in Batman's rather than Mach 2 to Mach 3, he's actually Mach 80. or rather than lifting 8 tons, he can lift 400. However, I don't believe that that's the character that DC was going for. Yes, Batman could be equivalent to Superman in every single way, but I doubt that that's the design of the character. Meanwhile, I don't particularly think that Rouge the Bat was either as fast as Flash or as strong as Superman either. Neither of these characters were designed to be the peak of their field. Rouge is neither fast or strong as Sonic. Batman is neither fast or strong as Superman. But when we look at scaling of what they've been up against, Batman's lowest lows and highest highs are both higher and lower than Rouge's lowest lows and highest highs. Batman at his weakest can be beaten by a normal human. Rouge at her weakness still destroys mechanoids with a single kick. Batman at his best, without god armor, etc., is tough enough to handle foes that can throw around tons. Rouge is about the same. So, given lowest lows versus highest highs, again, Rouge is most likely the victor here. But if you disagree, that is more power to you. Go ahead. I'd like to hear your opinion and your evidence, as some people have already posted. Now, secondarily, as the next topic of the video, I would like to discuss briefly what you guys would like to see from the channel in the interim period between animations. Animations are time-consuming, especially when you try to put polish on them. I have the ability with new capture software to possibly upload some game footage, maybe even tutorial footage every now and again. Games would include something like Pokemon Showdown or whatever else you guys want to see. I'm flexible, but my computer doesn't record high-end games particularly well. So, if you guys want to see some game footage or tutorial footage or anything in interim periods between animations, just let me know, and I'll see what I can do. Alright then, guys. That's basically everything that I needed to cover today. Please check out animations that I've done if you'd like to. If not, that's cool too. If you guys want to see some original artwork or whatnot, check my Facebook or my website, and I'll see you in the next battle, bro.